Welcome, everybody, to the show. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but we're back again. We seem to like a little bit of a disappearance sometimes, but
absence makes the heart grow fonder.
What's that, Trevor?
You guys celebrate Cinco de Mayo in Canada?
Oh, sort of, I guess, in some ways, I suppose. I actually posted a picture of Cinco de Mayo. I was in Disneyland, Disney World, and they had the man and the woman skeleton, I can't pronounce anything today, but I'll show it to you kind of quickly here.
I got my.
I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, right?
Yes.
So I posted that today because I remembered that this showed up a year ago, so I was pretty excited to see it.
Yeah. Well, happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. Absolutely.
Right. Enjoy some chips and salsa and a burrito.
So
burrito count.
There you go. It's hard to hear you a little bit, Trevor. Are you away from your microphone?
I changed the setting on it, and it's supposed to adjust automatically. Let me see if I can fix it.
So I know that you had Pete and everybody out there your way. So how was that? Good investigation?
Yeah, it went really good. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Is that better? Okay. Yeah, so we did 5 nights of investigating, and it was a lot. Never tried that before. I mean, I've been tired after an investigation, but like about 3 days into it, I was sore. Like my joints were hurting. And it's not like we were working real hard, but it really, it takes a toll on you being in a location like that where you have so much activity, and it's really interesting, watching everybody kind of throughout the week and kind of just how the energy levels start to drop. In fact, we took a whole day and we just left and went and did some stuff. But yeah, so Peter and some of his team came down. I think there were 6 of them, I believe. And we had at least 9 from my team. It was busy. It was a lot of people. It was a lot of coordination, a lot of stress for me, just trying to keep everybody happy and make sure everybody's having a good time. But that location never disappoints. It wasn't quite as active as last year, but it was still plenty active. It was still, people were hearing disembodied voices. There were some people seeing some shadows that are things that are really, really typical there. I know Peter and his crew got some great EVPs that they got. We're getting all of our stuff downloaded because Peter and his crew, they run all their stuff is handheld, and they kind of review things like right then. Like if they think they got something, they'll kind of stop. They'll stop what they're doing and they'll go back and listen. And
nice.
And then we run all of the static cameras. So I've got cameras that are running, 12, 16 hours at a time, plus all the handheld stuff that we're doing. So ours, we have to get back and get it all dumped down and uploaded to our FTP and then divvied out. So I imagine that'll take us a few months to get through all of that.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of looking through, I bet.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm still hoping one of these days I can get you two down here to come out and check it out and see what you think. And
yes, still want to do it. Still want to go.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a blast. So and then there's just other places around. I introduced them to a place called Stricker Ranch, which is right along the Oregon Trail, and it's got a lot of history and a lot of alleged activity out there as well. And a lot of history out here. It's just a lot of history that most people don't know about. So it's kind of cool.
That's very cool. Well, really the lives were really great. The Facebook Live, that was so much fun. Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah, because you caught an EVP during Facebook Live, right? That first night.
I did, and I heard it like it was right next to me. That was really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're hoping for, is not only people can kind of see us, investigating, but I mean, that is a tool to investigate with. I mean, that's not the first time that a viewer has actually caught something during an investigation that we're able to alert us on it. And I'm hoping we'll go back and we're going to clip that out and we'll be able to.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Right?
That was cool.
Yep.
Because you're not there. And so it makes it a little bit easier sometimes to hear them too. Or, like you're not involved in whatever's going on, or your attention's not somewhere else. Like I think that's amazing. That's so fantastic.
So cool. So cool.
And it's going to get better. So we're actually working on building up a really cool. Basically, I think we're going to be utilizing StreamYard, but we're going to be able to broadcast live to pretty much all the streaming. So YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram. We're going to be able to shotgun feeds out to all of them at the same time. So that's going to be pretty cool. And hopefully I'm going to get to the point where, because like a lot of it, like we'll do with our, I'll do with my phone. And if people don't want to follow us around and they like to watch like the static cams, they're going to be able to do that. So they can watch the static cams. And I'm going to try to get it to the point where you can select which camera you want to look at.
Nice.
And so, because if you're looking at all of them, you don't get any sound, and we have to have somebody sitting at base that's going to change the channel to whatever camera somebody wants to look at, and then you can get sound. But I'm hoping they can just do that from home eventually. So,
wow, that would be so cool. Be like having, your very own paranormal investigation in your own house.
Right? Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. So, and when you're tired, you just shut it off and go to bed. It's no big deal.
Yeah, that's all. Or fall asleep with your phone on your face like I did. But that's another story.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm excited about this topic. Lynda, you actually brought up this topic, and you had suggested it in regards to, opening up to spirit, and what, what to be aware of, the risks, the benefits, all of that. And what was making you think that? I want to ask that. Like, what made you think of this topic? Because I love this topic. I think it's great.
Well, about 3 or 4 days ago, I was actually speaking with someone who goes to our meetings on a regular basis, and they were hoping that our next guest speaker was going to be somebody that could answer their question, and it had something to do with opening up to spirit. And
okay.
The next guest speaker is not going to talk about that. She's a death doula, so she's not going to talk about that. But I'm hoping that come September, we'll probably have somebody who will, because this particular person is finding that spirit wants to speak through her, but she doesn't quite know how to open herself up, because when she was younger, she kind of pushed it away because it was scary. So now she wants to open up a little, but she still has that fear. And I think a lot of people out there are probably really, or can be really open to spirit, but there is that fear of, okay, what if I open myself up too much? Can spirit do things? Can they occupy my body? Can they use me? And how does that work? And they've got all these questions. And I mean, opening yourself up to spirit puts you in a little bit of jeopardy sometimes, especially if you don't know who you're opening up to.
So what we should do is specify too, as to what type of spirit. So when we're talking about spirit, we're not talking particularly in a religious sense, in one specific. Like, this isn't a Catholic thing. This is not a Muslim thing. This is not a this thing. It's not a that thing. It's not, you know what I mean? This is about opening up to spirit on a general sense, I believe, is what we're talking about. Now, for some, this, spirit can relate to our spirit guides. Spirit can relate to ghosts, or those that have passed over. Spirit can relate to some as a more of a demonic entity type of thing. So when we're talking about spirit, we're basically talking about spirit on a general form, for for the most part, but I think I understand what this person is talking about. And, basically I think to some degree they're asking, are they psychic? Or can they receive messages? Can they channel? Can they, receive, maybe it is people that have passed over, all of that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's a really fascinating topic to get into for sure. And it can, as somebody who does channel, okay, occasionally, right? Or has had the spirit come through, to channel it. You have to be in a place where you're comfortable with spirit to begin with, and this can take years. I mean, it's not something that anybody on any level should be going, oh, I'm just going to do this, or I'm going to just allow this. And this can take a lot of work as to figuring out the messages that you're hearing, allowing those messages to come through. It's sort of like, and I mean, I'm sure that we've all dealt with them, especially being on paranormal teams where somebody says, oh, I'm a psychic, because, I don't know, they guess that the sky was going to turn blue that day or something like that. And, and so, but they're coming from a very basic level. And it's like, how long have you been doing this for? Oh, well, I just started last week, or I played tarot cards, or I did this, or whatever it is. Like, it takes a long time to really allow channeling to happen in a safe manner. And even when I've been able to channel, or when I've had that, I can feel spirit coming in and kind of just sliding, I guess the best way, sliding me to the side. Like, you know what I mean? But I still have full cognizance of what I'm doing and saying. And I can, if I need to, interrupt that. Like, it's not like I'm stuck in that place. It's just sometimes I wasn't able to say what I needed to say, or I didn't have the ability within me to use the right wording, or I get lost in my own thoughts. And so I can't always say what it was that I was trying. And it was like, this is an important message, so we're just going to slide you over, say our message, go back, and then it was literally like that, here. Oh, okay. But if I needed to, I could stop it.
But
If I needed to.
But Kathy, also too, like when you're a psychic medium and you open yourself up, it's almost the same thing as, and Trevor, maybe you'll know where I'm going with this. It's almost the same thing when you're an investigator and you're not necessarily a psychic medium, but you're
Absolutely.
opening yourself up to the frequencies and
Mhm.
all of those things that are happening in your environment, especially when you're on an investigation or you're speaking with a potential client and you're in their environment. So you're opening yourself up to all of those different frequencies and all of that that's happening, correct?
You
So
know
yeah,
what? Yeah, absolutely. Right, Trevor? Yeah.
well, yeah, I think and for me, investing, I agree. You kind of have to say, how do I put it? It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I'm opening up myself to basically receive a message. Basically, I'm opening up. Hey, you have something to say. I'm listening. I am putting out my feelers, if you will, to see if I am picking up something different. Exactly, my little antennas, my little feeler antennas.
Yeah.
My concern is, so, and I've talked about this to my investigators in the past too. It's like, we talk about, I've had investigators that one of the first things, hey, we're here to talk. We're friendly. You can come up, you can touch me, you can do this, you can, and I'm like, ooh, time out, because there's got to be, there's boundaries. You've got to have boundaries. I had an investigator one time, years and years ago, that talked about, I wasn't there when it happened, but they were investigating the Columbia River Gorge Hotel. And he talked about how he was kind of egging them on, And it's like, hey, you're pretty tough. Hey, why don't you come over and show me how tough you are? Da, da, da. Well, he developed these 2 scratches going up his arm. And it was, okay. For most people, that would probably be like, oh, all right. Hey, yeah, you got something there. Cool.
Time to back down.
That wasn't enough for him.
Yeah.
He's like, really? That's all you got? Next thing that happened, the scratches start bleeding.
Great.
Okay. So, and then it was kind of like, oh, okay, hey, this is getting real. This is kind of weird. The advice I give people is, because we're talking about, we're not talking about the Holy Spirit, like Kathy said. We're talking about the 2 different types of entities that we're going to encounter on an investigation: human spirits and inhuman spirits. Okay, either people who have walked on the earth in a human form, or something else that hasn't. Would you ever go into a grocery store and walk out and say, okay, everybody, feel free to come and touch me?
No.
No, right? That would be crazy. Because you wouldn't. So whatever you wouldn't want a living person to do to you, don't invite a spirit to do it. Does that make sense? So, I would never invite, if somebody wanted me to pass a message, I'm more than happy. You tell me the message, I'll convey the message. But I would not let anybody use me as a puppet. So that would be really uncomfortable for me. I don't know where they'd stick their hand, but that wouldn't be very pleasant. But yeah, I can't even. It's in for Kathy. I mean, it's difficult for me to kind of grasp the whole slide thing too, because it's just got to be an interesting experience in that sense.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is it didn't happen, immediately. It was more. It was a slow process, right? And I guess, some people would refer to it like a possession, but it's not. We'll back up a little bit on that. It's not like that. But
yeah.
But it took me a long time to get to that place, of being comfortable of receiving the messages first. So I would hear them, in my mind, or I see things, or, I would get visions of things, or whatever it was. And, I developed for myself, I developed a very close relationship with my personal guides.
Mhm.
And I feel comfortable with them, and I can tell the difference between them and something else, or, whatever it was like that. And when it first happened, it was in front of a group of people. I never forget this. It was the weirdest thing, because we used to have our weekly meetings, very similar to what your meetings, I think, are, Lynda. We used to have public meetings every week, and we would draw, quite a few people coming in, and we would do lectures and stuff like that. And I remember somebody asking me a question. I don't remember exactly what the question was at this time, because this was years ago, but I remember I was talking, and I was trying to explain what I was saying. And I just kept fumbling the words, and I wasn't, it was almost like I know what I'm trying to say, but I'm just not freaking saying it right, and then all of a sudden it was like, I don't know. I don't even know exactly how to say it. It was just more like I could hear myself talking, and I could feel myself had shifted just a little bit inside of myself. And the words that were coming out were clear and concise, and they were answering this question, the way that it needed to answer. It was very quick. Like, it was literally only maybe 30 seconds or so. And then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, what just happened? And I think I even said that, like, I don't know what happened, to this crowd. But the interesting thing is that people around the room, so we had investigators sort of around the room, to help people, or, if they wanted to do something or whatever. And I had 3 different people come to me and say, when that happened, like when all of a sudden you were talking, they said, we don't know what happened, but all of a sudden there was like this purple light around you. It was almost like this light just glowed from you. But one of them could actually see it through the camera because they were recording it. And so it was a very fascinating experience. And so I've allowed that to happen. But what I've also done is asked for it to happen. So when I can't explain something, could you please just come in? And if it's important to them, they'll, they're not going to waste their time with like nonsense. But if it's important or if it's something that needs to be explained, then they will. And, you know, it hasn't happened all that often, but enough times where I recognize it. I know what it is. And they've never stayed. They've never, you know, anything like that. It's not like controlling my body or anything like that. And I've always been able to just go, okay, I'm good. You know, like we're good now, whatever. So, but again, you know, like this person in your group is saying, you know, this, I feel like that is a fear for people. That is a legitimate fear, but they have to remember too, that if anybody starts at that level, they already have gone, like they have not gone through the proper steps or the proper way of tuning in. And that could be seriously dangerous because again, I recognize the energy of what it is that I'm allowing. It's not, you know, this is a very beautiful energy. It's not a malevolent energy or an energy that, you know, I wouldn't want anything near me. I recognize this energy. It's something that I work with on a daily basis, right? So I'm okay with it. But for your, you know, for your person, I mean, they have to remember too, is like, you know, it's a slow start. It's a slow start, and they never even need to get to that level. And chances are, you know, you trust your gut. A lot of it, even like paranormal investigation, you guys trust your guts. You
That's
trust your
true.
intuition moving forward. You know, you
Yeah.
know if something's not feeling right. And then that's where you take your team or yourself and you go, okay, we're out of here, or we're going to take a step back, or don't do this. Kind of like the same thing you said, you know, to your teammate about the scratches, or, you know, inviting something to, you trust yourself. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your gut. And it's not about the glory.
No, no, but you said it best when you use the word, it's what I was, what
Yeah.
I always tell my team members, you know, it's what you will allow, and you really do need to protect yourself. And Trevor, you said it best when you said boundaries. And I really do believe that boundaries are so very important, but so many people don't know how to set those boundaries, because
Mm.
when you're in an investigation, it really is important to open yourself up to the energies within the space, but you do have to do so safely. And that's really important, really important.
And there's sometimes where I will walk into a location and I won't open myself up real well, or a lot, because you know, again, it's like being able to recognize that atmosphere as far as, you know, what's going to be okay, what's not going to be okay, you know, and and just understand that sometimes spirits, you know, it's like, you know, even human spirits, I mean, the ones that were bad in life are not going to be great in death. So and they will look to, you know, and sometimes they look to get mischievous, and they'll look to try to take advantage of you however they can, whether it's siphoning energy off of you, or, you know, just trying to try to physically molest you, or, you know, throw stuff at you or whatever. You know, and I had to learn to Kathy's. I mean, it took time to learn how to shut that down sometimes. I remember I was investigating. Sorry, I keep touching my nose. My nose is itchy. I remember I was investigating in the Geyser Grand Hotel in Oregon, and it was like really, really active. But it was like, it was a really, because usually the activity in there was pretty light. You know, it was really benign, but for whatever reason, that night it was really heavy. And I remember coming out, we'd been in active investigating for about 45 minutes. And I came out of there and to take a break. And I mean, I felt like I was going to pass out. I was just exhausted, absolutely exhausted. I was just fatigued. My head hurt. You know, I had no idea what was going on. And the director at the time, she was like, "Hey, this is what's going on. You just need to stay out for a little while. You need to eat. You need to, you know, kind of recover some of your energy. And this is how we move forward." You know, and just understanding that being in a location like that and not having some form of boundary set when you go in, and setting boundaries is not complicated at all. It's really just something. It's honestly, for me, it's a state of mind. And it's just something I set in, in my head, that this is what I'm going to allow. This is not what I'm going to allow. And you can even say it out loud when you get there. Hey, these are the boundaries. These are the rules. If that makes you feel better, do it that way. Because you're able to do that as a living human being. Doesn't matter who you are in control. That's just the way it is. So baby steps. So take those baby steps. Don't jump in with just both feet. Find somebody that can teach you. Would be my other piece of advice. Would be find somebody who does it. Somebody who can help you open it up, and then more importantly, be able to shut it down when you need to. That's huge.
I think that a lot of the problem is with people is exactly what you just said, is finding, not only finding somebody to help you, that's usually the easy part, but a lot of people don't want to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with, as we've all dealt with paranormal investigation also, right? Is that they don't want to do any research. They don't want to, try out little things first, or, whatever it is. They want to just go into somebody's house and fuck it all up. And, bring in a whole bunch of people and do this and do that and tromps all over the place, and bring Ouija boards or bring whatever, that, or, and again, if that's your thing, it is what it is. Right. But the thing is that, there's baby steps, there's small steps to all of this. And, again, going back to trusting yourself, trusting your gut. But it's the taking the time to learn something. It's like, I mean, if you look at it like being a mechanic, for instance, I mean, I'm not going to pull out an engine out of a car without having any freaking clue as to how to put it back. And that's the same type of thing, right? But people, they don't think of it in that way. But yet it's funny because, when it's the spirit world, these can have long-term effects on you on a mental or a physical or emotional basis, right?
Well, and not just the investigator, but it can have lasting effects on the people that live there,
the house, yes,
as well. It can really mess things up for them.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't bother to, take their time and learn this. It was funny. I just had this thought in my head, and it's the same thing. Like when I used to do aesthetics, like a long time, like 25 years of aesthetics, and people will, they'll search like all over the freaking shopping mall for the right color of lipstick, or right color of clippers, or whatever, or the right clippers or whatever. But they will go to anybody to have them work on their body, which can have long-term lasting effects on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And it's the same thing with the paranormal and the supernatural. Like, it's not just something that you screw around with. And it's the same thing as, like, even as a psychic medium, you have to have responsibility. You have to take responsibility for the things that you're saying or you're telling people, because they can have effects on the people long term as well, right? And I've seen, psychics, or pretend psychics, or whatever you want to call them, really mess up relationships by telling people that somebody is messing around or having an affair. I've seen divorces happen because of something a psychic said, without people putting, or without people researching who they're going to, right? We've seen that with paranormal investigation, where the clients are left in a state of complete fear because of what these paranormal investigators did inside of their home, because they just took any slap trap crew into their house because they didn't want to do the work. They didn't want to do maybe the interview stage, or they didn't want to do the smaller investigation stage, or they didn't want to answer the questions, or they didn't want to, whatever it was. And it's like with all of us, like we've all have those, questions that we ask people.
Right.
And,
yep.
and we do that not just because, it fulfills our day and makes us happy, but because there's reason for it, before an investigation is done. And a lot of people, they just don't want to bother. They don't want to do the work.
Yeah. And I think that's the downside that we see to the media, the TV shows that we see,
Right.
they're really, really entertaining, most of them. And, but they do disservices to the amount of work that is actually going into the investigation. I mean, I would never just send my team into a place that I have not researched, that I have not looked into.
Yeah.
I would not send them into a home until I know that the home is safe, that the people that we're investigating for, that they are safe, that, and I do my due diligence before we ever get into the nitty gritty of anything. And I encourage, like, the people that contact me, I encourage them to do the same to us. I say, have you looked at our webpage? Have you checked out our Facebook? Do you know who we are? Do you know how we do things? I want them to be as comfortable with us as we would need to be with them to go into their home. And I think that's, kind of like what you were saying, Kathy, is like, your spirit guides and being able to recognize the spirits that are you're opening up to, as opposed to, just any spirit, just any person willy-nilly coming in. Hey, can I go in? Hey, let me in. I mean,
yeah. That would be like you had said about the shopping mall, like just saying, oh, anybody, no, like, I'll go to the shopping mall with my buddy or my family or somebody I feel close to or whatever, or,
a random stranger knocks on your front door.
Yeah,
I'm
not going to let them into my home.
Oh, mind if I come in? Oh, sure, come on in. No, that's not how we do things.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with her, but that, and that is a good way to present it to this person, that was asking about it too, because a lot of people get so caught up in the, oh, well, this could happen and this could happen and this could happen. Yeah. You know what? Sure. It could. A lot of things could happen, or it could be a truly beautiful experience too. And you learn to navigate different aspects of yourself and spirit together.
That's so true.
Another way to look at it as well.
That's so true. It's interesting. If we look at this on a very small level, opening yourselves up to spirit, it's interesting because I'm sure both of you and people out there too, sometimes people come up to you and they say, so-and-so passed and I've never received any sign. I'm really upset because I was hoping that maybe something might happen and I might see them or I might hear them or something like that. And a lot of those people are very blocked to receiving any kind of sign from anyone, because I think it's fear as well. And also not understanding the instincts and the feelings as well. Because when you open yourself up even slightly, then you're going to see things like, the robins or the cardinals or the dimes or the pennies, or you're going to see and you're going to feel, maybe smell something. You have to open yourself up to receiving some kind of a sign. And often when we tell these people, have you ever really opened yourself up to and understanding and becoming aware of your surroundings? I think that's the key, is becoming aware and understanding your instincts about certain things, but becoming aware of what's going on around you. That's step one. And it's true, it doesn't happen immediately, and you have to give it time, and you have to give it space, and you have to give it consideration. But that's the small end of opening yourself up to spirit.
Yes.
That I think people out there maybe don't understand, is becoming aware of your surroundings. And that's when you suddenly develop an instinct when it comes to what's good, what's not so good, what feels right, what doesn't feel right. And that's part of what we do as paranormal investigators too.
Mm-hmm. The one caution I do have is that because fully agree with what you said. I mean, once I started opening up, I remember like long time ago, and once I started opening up, the world just looks different. Like you can't go back. You know what I mean? Like it just looks, it's beautiful. Like you see things in a fully different way. You truly do. But I did get caught into this little phase, especially, and this does start usually when, when you really start opening up, is then you start saying, okay, well, is every number that you see on the clock, is that always an angel number? Or is every dime from spirit, or is this or that or the other? And some people get too caught up into into that realm. And then you're like, okay, but and I've had to deal with this, when doing readings where somebody is clearly their energy is not towards person.
Right.
Clearly. And, as we all know, we all get people that are a little bit too not believing that this is not going to happen as a relationship. Right. And you've got to, like clearly, like their actions, their energy, like this person has basically said, do not ever call me again. And they'll be like, oh yeah, but I keep seeing 11:11 on the clock, so I have to call them. And it's like, no, that will get you a restraining order. Clearly, if somebody says
you're gonna see 11:11 tomorrow again.
And again,
11.
and again, and again. Right. And, and so that's where people have to like, not everything is a sign from spirit. And that's where you've got to, be in that place of, reality to the spirit world or whatever, and it's like when we're dealing with people that want their house haunted. They thrive on the fact that their house is haunted. Yeah. God forbid if you ever tell them that the door slammed shut because a window was open, all hell is going to break loose. They're not going to have anything to do with it. They're not going to believe you. They will fight you tooth and nail that door slammed shut because Grandma Betsy slammed that door, and that is just the end of it, right? And so, but we get that same thing, when doing readings or whatever it is. And we have to be in that place of awareness, like not everything is, and it's okay. Yes. It's okay. Spirit is around us all the time, but not everything is spiritual.
Yeah, the benefits and the risks, right? The benefits are that you can become aware and definitely more aware of your surroundings. The risks are that you sometimes get a little caught up with all of it, and sometimes it's just dust.
Sometimes it's not an orb, it is just dust.
Where have I seen that before?
I don't know. I don't know. Somewhere.
So I read a book, and I can't remember the author's name. I do believe the book was called Signs, and it was talking about signs that maybe that we are looking for from our loved ones that have passed, just to let us know that they're still there, or signs maybe kind of what you're talking about, those spiritual signs that we're looking for. And what the book suggested was basically, if that is something that you're looking for, great. And they kind of talk about the same thing. Not everything is a sign. However, not everything is coincidence either. So right. If you are going to look for signs and you were looking for a specific sign from a specific person, ask for something specific, and
something that you're not going to see in your regular day by day kind of thing.
Right. So say like, I was born in 1977, so maybe it's like, okay, show me a sign in the form of a penny from 1977.
Right.
So then that would be something really I'm going to find pennies everywhere. Well, I used to. Now everything's like digital currency, but if I find a penny and it's cool, well, it's 1977, and then I find another one, and then another one, all 1977. Oh my gosh, maybe that's. Now I'm kind of thinking maybe that's right. The sign I was looking for, right? So, but if I just say, show me a white puffy cloud, oh, look, there's signs everywhere. It's amazing. No, not so much. So, be specific and assign and ask for that sign specifically.
Yes.
And then, yeah, go. Yeah, Cody, that's the one. That's the one. So
What happened with that one?
that's the book that I was talking about.
Oh, okay. As the author. Oh, yeah. Okay.
There you go. And you know what? A perfect example of all of this is what happened to Pete when he was using, I think, what was he using? Was he using an app? No, Spirit Box, maybe, when he asked, "Where am I from?"
Oh, right. Yeah.
You
So,
wanna tell
yeah,
that one?
that was pretty interesting. So I wish he was here to tell it.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of the place that he's from.
Croydon.
Because
Croydon.
what is it?
Croydon.
Croydon. That's right. So that was really interesting. That happened at Stricker Ranch, and he kind of went off. We were just right on. He was right along the Oregon Trail near a bunch of some of the old buildings and artifacts that they have out there, and he was doing a ghost box interview session. Thank you. My brain.
I get it.
So, the sign of old age. Anyway, so he asked, they say, hey, based on my accent, can you tell me where I'm from? And what's interesting, so I was listening to some of this. I don't know if I heard that exact one. I have never really heard a clear word off a ghost box before. To me, it's all kind of like, well, it could be, maybe it sounded like that, but not really. This was clear as day. I mean, it was like he asked the question and it said Croydon. I mean, there was no mistaking it.
So clear.
And it blew him away. He was just kind of like, whoa, because like he's got an answer, UK or England or Britain or something like that. But down to the very specific place that he was from, that was pretty amazing.
That was a sign for sure. 100%.
Yeah. I remember this was a long time ago when Dre was just a baby. And we were having some issues with the house. And I've talked about this before, where our house was quite haunted when he was a little kid and when he was a baby. And well, I mean, it probably still is to some degree, but we don't pay attention to it. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I remember asking, I said at one point, okay, if you're here, send us a sign. Like I need something very clear, like something that I can't mistake, for it being a coincidence sort of thing. And it was so funny because I had taken Dre out to the car and my daughters were in the car and the kids were all sitting in the car. And I realized, oh my God, I forgot my purse. So I have to run back into the house. So I go running back into the house, open the door. And at that moment I heard, so I don't know if you remember, you probably remember these, Lynda. Maybe you do too, Trevor, those old Fisher Price that used to hang on the side of the cribs. And they didn't have batteries, but they did have the pull string. And when you pulled them down, it was like itsy bitsy spider, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't battery, it was pull string. So you had to pull the string. So I walk in the house and all of a sudden I could hear, and I just went, I'm fucking out of here.
It's like, I think I left something at the store. I gotta go.
Yeah. Then I'm not coming back to this house ever again. I was like, but I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, like, okay, so that I had asked for the sign. I got the sign. And I remember I came home and I even, afterwards, and I was like, okay, like maybe there is batteries in, like, how you can't, like at that time, you're like, whatever. And I thought, okay, because sometimes when batteries start to die in toys and stuff, we get those really, intermittent, weird hello from the closet and stuff like that.
Yes.
Because the batteries are starting to die. Yeah. But so I came home and I thought, okay, well, it's probably that. It was probably this, not the other thing. And I, look at it and I'm like, no.
I love the old Fisher Price.
This is definitely not in the old Fisher Price. No. And this thing was ancient. Like, I think we had it. I think it used to be like one of my toys, And yeah, I was just like, oh my God. So that was enough of that. It's like,
I always thought a fun. I've always wanted to do this, and I wouldn't have the skills to do it. I just thought it would be a great practical joke. You remember, the Fisher Price, the ones that had like all the like, it would have like a kind of a big dial in the middle of it,
oh
and
yeah,
you
like
could,
the animals or whatever.
right, yeah, it would make
Yeah,
noises,
yeah.
depending on
Yes.
what animal it pointed at or whatever. And I just wanted one of them to say something like "get out," something like you hear this like "moo," yeah, get out,
Yeah. The cow
that'd be
one,
great.
it could say move out.
Out,
Moo,
out,
yeah.
get out, get out.
I like that. I like that.
I think I'm gonna market that one, so I'm gonna sell
You
that to some
should.
ghosts.
You should. For sure.
That's
1,000%.
freaking awesome.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
Yeah, but the funny thing is with spirit too, is that spirit usually works randomly. I mean, yes, we get the knocks or whatever, when we ask, and the occasional like Croydon and other things can definitely happen when we do ask for them, right? But a lot of times, if we're in a place of just being present, and like you had said, Lynda, like being, just allowing spirit, it doesn't mean that you're allowing spirit to take over anything or anything like that. It's just a matter of being present within yourself, because we are technically spirit. We are spirit, right? And, it's just being in that different place, being more present, being more focused, being more, not in this place where we're worried about this, that, or the other thing. When we just stop and go, okay, right here, right now, this is what I'm doing, or right here and right now, this is what is happening. We can also, spirit just sort of comes in and does these amazing things. And this is where we usually do get like amazing signs, or we get messages, or our loved ones are able to come in more clear because of the fact that we're not so lost in whatever it is. And at that time too, we might not be just looking for the pennies, but we might actually receive full messages from our loved ones, simply because of the fact that we're not caught up in the rubble that our brains like to create.
I think there's a difference between the spirits that are kind of working for us, I guess, that are giving us those little messages, versus inviting something that we don't know in, so that we can do something for them, or they can do something through us, or manipulate us so that they can manipulate the world, or
That's
whatever.
a huge jump,
You got to make sure that there's a distinct difference between those two things, as far as like opening up your senses to the world around you, versus opening up your own being to allow another being to assume some form of control. So that to me is, I tend to steer away from that.
Yeah. But you know what? You're right. You're right. You have to be really present. And so many people, especially now, we're all multitasking. We're doing 4,000 things at once. So we're not really receptive to one thing at a time. So, I mean, I know a lot of people who've gotten into trouble. For instance, a lot of the people that I've helped that have brought things home from flea markets or garage sales that have attachments to them, and they bring them into the house, they'll be saying to me, well, I was, talking to my friend and I saw this thing and I thought that's really cool and it would really go well in my bedroom. So I said, yeah, I'll take that, and continued talking, but didn't really give that item the time and attention that it
That's
needed.
A good point.
Right? So that it could tell her or him how it was, or what it was, or whether it felt right or it felt wrong. And I think if we give something our time and our full attention, we know how it is going to be. And I know myself, I thrift all the time. I go to tons of estate sales, and I look at things, and there are some things that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but I make sure that I'm present and I'm in the moment and I'm devoting my attention to it. And I'm not doing 4,000 things at once. I'm checking my phone. I'm talking to somebody else. And I think that's a key as well. And when we do investigations, full well that when we're there, we're fully present in the moment. When we're asking those questions and we have our devices going, we are fully present. We're not checking our phone messages and looking on Facebook, and we're not doing any of those things. We're committed to that time and attention at that point. And I think people need to do that. No more of this ridiculousness where we're all doing 4,000 things at the same time.
Isn't it kind of ironic, though, the fact that we have these cell phones and computers and all of these electronic things that do our work for us, and yet we're completely less focused than we would have been 100 years ago, where, especially, whether it's men or women, because men had their particular chores that they did that was, a lot and very physical and very demanding. And so did the women, and we had all of that going on. And yet we were way more present within ourselves, and we understood probably ourselves a lot better to some degree than we really do now.
Well, I think that's because back then, I mean, and I'm not talking like the 50s or 60s. I'm talking long time ago. We were working for ourselves.
Yeah.
We weren't working for other people. We were working the land. We were, you had to farm to survive. You had to hunt to survive. You were just present in that moment, day to day, focusing on taking care of yourself, focusing on taking care of them. You weren't worried about everybody else. So, and now, we are dedicated ourselves to being indoors, sitting behind desks and behind screens. And, we're not walking anywhere anymore. We got to travel by car and by plane. And we got to, it's just go, 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 go all the time. We got stuff stuck in our ears all the time. We're no longer listening to what's going on around us. We're not watching what's going on around us. We got our phones. Everybody's got their face in their phones. There's no situational awareness whatsoever anymore in today's society. And if people want to find these signs, if they really want to open themselves up to these, to those spirit guides, or to, the messages that maybe somebody's trying to give you, you have to put that stuff away. You have to get out of the noise. You got to quiet your mind and find a place of seclusion or whatever, someplace where you can meditate or, just focus on quiet. I call it the quiet. I call it, when I go camping, when I go up into the mountains every year, that's my quiet. I sit down. All I hear is nature, just trees and wind and rivers and whatever. And you're right. We are just so much more busy now. And I think the more automated that we get, the worse it's going to get. So the more technology that we have, we're going to detach ourselves that much further from our natural state, which is being part of nature. So
the other thing is having that confidence within yourself and knowing yourself as well, right? And when people say things like, "Oh, I'm scared that this is going to whatever it is become an attachment or this or that," you're basically saying that you don't know yourself, that you would allow something on a negative basis to come in, or you would allow this, or that you don't have awareness, and it goes back to kind of what Trevor was saying too about the shopping mall. Like, you're not going to let anybody just touch you. So, unless you're that type of person that's like needing that attention so badly, like, come on, please pay attention to me, touch me.
Somebody come and just love me.
Yeah, somebody just give me a hug, please. Somebody, but it goes down to knowing yourself and having that confidence within you, knowing and again, that trust, right? Trusting your intuition, trusting yourself, trusting that that you're going to bring about the best thing for yourself, not other things are bringing it to you. And you have to have that trust in you. And it doesn't mean that when we talk about confidence, some people consider it like a sense of arrogance, but those are very low energy type of people. And so if anybody says to you, or tries to make you doubt your confidence in knowing of who you are, just remember that is a very low energy that they're trying to present to you. And I would be very aware. And again, go back into trusting yourself, into your space, your knowledge of yourself, your own confidence, your own whatever it is that you need to do. If you need to take a step back. And the funny thing is, it is usually, you know, our friends or families or complete strangers that think that they know better, you know, and we deal with this on the internet on a regular basis. And it does break down our confidence at times, or it has the potential of breaking down our confidence because we allow perfect strangers to come in and tell us that we're not correct or that we're not right or that this isn't. I mean, how many times have we, you know, well, maybe not me particularly or you guys in particular, but you know what I mean, as investigators, you know, when something has happened and you hear it from a bunch of strangers how this is this or that is that, and oh, it's got to be this, and you know what I mean, like you're dealing with things on a regular basis that is trying to basically make you not trust your intuition.
Mhm.
It's other people's nonsense. And when we take a step away from that, that's where we know that we begin building that trust within ourselves again. And so when you have that trust within you, things like what this person had brought to you are not going to happen because you're going to be willing to do the work. You're going to be willing to take the slow steps that are needed towards building up, you know, allowing spirit to come in or allowing spirit to communicate with you. You're going to start listening to those messages, you know, and you're going to start listening to your instincts, right? And I love that. Trust in your instincts and abilities as an investigator too. That's what Cody says. And then he said, if we had situational awareness, we'd be able to accomplish many things, which is very, very true. Very, very true.
Yeah. And it takes time to develop. And that's really important too.
It does. It's not an overnight thing. But, you know, again, you know, we go back to people just don't seem to have, they don't have the patience. They don't have the patience, you know, and you have to. It's no different than anything else. You're not going to be a lawyer in 5 minutes by starting law school, or a mechanic in 5 minutes by working on a car. It's the same thing, especially for the paranormal. And we're dealing with things that are, you know, can essentially have danger to them, but they can also be truly beautiful too.
Well, I mean, that's because we live in a world of instant gratification, right? So, I mean, my internet when I was growing up was the library, you know, that I had to
the Dewey system.
The Dewey system. That was Google, right? Which book is good? And then I had to go find the book, and then I had to find the page that had the information that I want on it. It took time and it took effort in order to get information back then.
It was called the Dewey Decimal System, Trevor, back then. That was
Dewey Decimal System. And yeah, that's where they had these cards, physical cards. They had all these drawers, right, that were labeled A, you know, A through C and whatever, you know. And then each book had its own number, catalog number, and then you could look up the book, the catalog number, and it would tell you right around the shelf that part of the library it was in. It was great. So, you know, but now, I mean, if you want to know something, you Google it. And it's there instantly, and it may or may not be true, but you know, but I mean, you know, you get your information like right now, you know, fast food, you know, you can go to McDonald's and you have your meal in 2 minutes, you know,
Right.
you know, that's the world that we live in, and that's the world that our kids are growing up in. And so that's what they expect, right? They expect instant results. They expect, you know, what they want right then, right now. You know, you got to develop. It's like anything else. You know, talents don't develop overnight. Just like, you know, Kathy was saying, and your instincts aren't going to develop overnight. So, you know, and you know, if you really want to start learning how, you know, to open yourself up to those things, the first thing you got to do is put down your phone when you're going around places and open your eyes and that's what I really think. Unless you're watching us, well, no, especially if you're watching, unless you're watching it on the phone, keep your phone up.
Yeah.
Unless you're driving. You know, I've tried to do the same thing. Like if I go to the DMV or if I'm going, you know, anywhere public where I'm going to be standing in a line for a minute, I put my phone in my pocket and I just, you know, and I just watch. I just look around.
People watch too.
Yeah, and it's just kind of, to see what people are doing, and what's cool about it is that you start picking up on things that everybody else is missing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about trying to get ahead in something, you're gonna have, I mean, information. I mean, that's out there that isn't in your phone is huge.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've been in a particular line for something, and then they would announce or they would say something, or a sign would change saying, hey, if you're here for this, move to this line, and I would move and nobody else would. And like everybody else is all up in arms when they get up to the counter. Well, wait a minute, I thought this was, no, they said like 10 minutes ago, just go to this line. I mean, it's little stupid things like that, right, that people just miss. So
My son and I will go out for dinner. Not often, but often enough, I guess. And we just no phones at the table. Like while we're waiting, okay, that can be okay sometimes. And but when we're eating, when the food comes, phones away. And you know what? It was him. It was him that he's the one. If my phone goes off, he's like, no, put that phone away. Put that phone away. He wants that conversation. He wants that, that awareness. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. Because most
I just
people
remember how irritating it was sitting down at dinner years ago before cell phones, and your phone would ring, and it's like, don't people know we're eating dinner? I mean, come on. I mean, it was like
well,
a
everybody
very,
ate at the same time back then too. And so if somebody
it
there
was
called it
very
like 5,
discourteous to call during dinner time, because you're supposed to be sitting there with your family and having dinner. Now it's like everybody thinks they got to answer right away because they have the phone right there. So it's like, no, you don't. It's okay.
Exactly.
So.
Well, thank you guys for watching. We truly appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being present with us today. we truly appreciate it, and we hope to see you next week. And thanks for everything. Have an amazing week, guys. Take care.